Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card. So today's pick a card, we're talking to your future self, and we're talking about your future self that exists probably at least 5 years out from now, maybe even longer, depending upon what energies I connect into. But we're looking to messages from your future self for things that would be good for you to know about now that are going to be important or play out sort of in the narrative of your life and the choices of your life over the next 3 to 5 years. So we're going to look at that around love and relationships. We're going to look at it around career, vocation, that kind of thing. And we're going to look at it around spirituality. So the idea is to give you a sense to start with of a bit of the kind of overarching narrative that could be going on, or things that you could be dealing with, understanding, meeting challenges, taking blessings, whatever it would be over that period of time in those areas of your life. And then kind of the staging of that, both with tarot and other things, like what would be coming with that, and what are some personal predictions that could be connected, or other energies that you need to be aware of in that kind of time frame, particularly looking at sort of right now, in the next 3 to 4 years, and then once you hit the 5-year mark, that kind of thing. So hopefully it will be illuminating and fun. I decided to use Zeke's Arcana Tarot for this because I feel like it's very futuristic. And I feel like at the moment, when I'm filming this, we are in a stage where Pluto has gone into Aquarius, major transformations, major changes in that Aquarian and almost like Uranian as well as Plutonian sort of way. And I felt like Zeke's Arcana really picks that up, the kind of AI technological world that we're heading into, whatever spiritual advancements we might have in that period of time, just to kind of like almost free the mind as much as possible too, because this is probably my strangest deck, that I have in my collection, and the one that feels most almost alien or futuristic. So that's the kind of energy we want with it. Plus it's beautiful and colourful as well. So to make the choice of pile, and of course you can go to more than one if you want. It might be that your future self is talking to you in pile 1 about love, and in pile 3 about spirituality, for instance. So you do you on that. But to help with the choice, I shuffled each time and asked for a major arcana card. The first major arcana card that I dealt out would be a bit of a theme for the whole message that your future self wants to talk to you about. So it might help you choose either visually or energetically, or with what you might know of these cards. So that may help or may not. But in any case, for pile number 1, we have the Chariot. For pile number 2, we have the Emperor. And for pile number 3, we have an additional major arcana card that's in this particular tarot deck called the Maker. So if any of those intrigue, draw you or whatever, you know where to go. If you want to do more than one, you know where to go. But in any case, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Chariot. What we have here is a card from the Timeless Tales deck for each of the 3 areas for an overarching narrative to give us a bit of a sense of the energies around love and relationships, career and vocation, and spirituality. But before we get to that, let's have a look at the Chariot card here. I think that if you've come to the Chariot, and if your future self is talking about the Chariot, they're saying a couple of things. One is that there's some fairly destined energy going to happen the next 3 to 5 years. And I suspect a lot of that comes from spirituality, given the cards here, which could then impact the narrative that is in play in the other parts of your life. But I definitely, there's a sense of destiny. I always think that of all the cards in the major arcana, the Chariot card is kind of the heading towards destiny, something. It's almost like a relentless force, and you have to keep moving. And your future self would definitely be saying that in all of the aspects of your life, keep moving. You are going to be balancing your head and heart, your material and spiritual, all the different things that you have to balance. You're going to be balancing those. That's part of what the Chariot is about. But you are in the driver's seat. So you are heading towards some things that are pretty important and maybe destined, but you are still in the driver's seat. And the main thing you need to do is keep that Chariot on the road, keep it moving forward, keep it in balance. When we actually look at the way that it is shown here, this almost looks to me as though you are like this winged creature up here looking at the Chariot, even considering, do I actually jump on that Chariot and move forward? I think that's very interesting given 2 of the cards here. I think that the answer to that comes from looking at the spiritual development and what that is telling you. The spiritual development during the next 3 to 5 years is going to be a way for you to decide when and how do I jump on this sort of unicorn chariot, this gorgeous unicorn chariot, and when is it safe to do it and when shouldn't I do it? I also think because we've got a unicorn energy there are going to be some very unusual opportunities and times, and like a big part of that again is deciding, is this something I want to run with or not? And that I think is particularly going to play out around love and around career choices, because it's fairly high stakes, I would say. I think your future self wants to tell you it's fairly high stakes and you need to be very considered, and you need to probably go back to what your spiritual momentum is, because it will help you make good decisions. So that's the energy, I think. It's around decisions and balancing things to move forward towards something that feels destined or something that you're kind of your purpose in a way. But these cards are meant to represent stories that give a bit of an idea of the energy that you'll be dealing with. So in love and relationships, that's the Emperor's new clothes. So there is an issue around, I think, with relationships, are they what they appear to be? Now, this doesn't mean that every relationship that you're in of all types is like this. It's most likely to come out either in relationships that are love relationships, like romantic, or potentially, given this energy, sometimes around work relationships and business partnerships. So it depends on how it plays out. And it'll be interesting to see what we get with the tarot around it. Because I would say this is saying that there are going to be some relationships that aren't what they appear in this period of time, and you need to be aware of it. Doesn't mean that if you fall in love that is the Emperor's new clothes and not real. That might be a relationship that's fine, but it's kind of look at new relationships, any new relationships that are coming in. Your future self is saying look at them with some discernment. There's almost, and make your own mind up, because if you think about the storyline of the Emperor's new clothes, what happened is that the kind of propagandists who told the emperor that he was in these beautiful clothes and it's only people who weren't worthy who wouldn't be able to see it. It's sort of like there's other people that are judging something and deciding whether something's worthwhile. And they could be straight out conning people about it, which is what's happening in that story, or it could be just other people's judgments are not the ones to pay attention to right now. So I would say your future self is saying there is a little bit of a risk around certain new relationships that are going to come in over this period of time, and some will not be what they're saying, but it doesn't mean all of them aren't, which is also interesting with what we get with career and vocation. You either are in a difficult situation right now, and this is about trying to show you ways to move out of it, or it could be saying that there will be some periods that are difficult around career and vocation as well, because this is the little match girl. So it's how you use your resources. I think this is who you trust and how you use your resources are the messages that are important here, because she, in the end, her matches are what she could sell to make money, but because she's so cold and she's outside, she uses all the matches to keep herself warm. So it's using the resources in a way that doesn't have a future focus. So I think your future self wants to say to you, whether it's in business partnerships, potentially connecting those, where some might be, too good to be true, so be careful of that. Or where you invest your time and your energy, make sure it isn't doing it in a way that uses up what you've already achieved. So I think there's a real message here from your future self about getting the right idea about what to move forward with and the things that are really going to build and grow for you, as opposed to short-term relationships that appear better than maybe they are, or short-term career things that use up too many of your resources and so forth. And this is why I think it's so important we have the Holy Grail here as the spiritual one. I think this is tricky. Like, you put these together, I've been thinking, your future self's telling you you've got some interesting hurdles to jump and some interesting puzzles to work out over the next 3 to 5 years. And I think it's true, but I also think that this is your clue. When you are looking, because this is the Holy Grail, what is your spiritual purpose? That will give you the way to decide this and the way to discern it. You're very strongly connected spiritually. You have a very clear idea what you're here for. So if you use that as your discernment, that will help you work out what relationships are valid, and it will help you work out how to replenish yourself, because that's interesting to me. It's like you could potentially use some resources in your career vocation, but if it connects to your purpose, the cup will refill. The whole point about the Holy Grail, when the Holy Grail was found, being able to drink from the Holy Grail, it healed the land. So I think that there's a very big connection between that and your career and vocation and anything monetary or financial. But I think the same thing applies around relationships. So it is a period of needing to use discernment and connecting things to your spiritual path, because there will be too good to be true type of situations. There will be times if you jumped on this because it seems so unique and so different as unicorn, that either you're going to miss or it's going to take you somewhere you don't want to go. So going always back to first principles. So let's use the tarot. So we're going to ask about love, we're going to ask about career, we're going to ask about spirituality, and then we're going to see what one small thing could help bring all this into balance for you. So firstly, anything more that your future self wants to say about love through the tarot for you. The Fool reversed, Strength reversed, the Eight of Pentacles, the Seven of Wands, and the Two of Cups. Yeah, I do think it is saying there is a potential relationship around you. Likely, well, with the Two of Cups reversed, it may not be a love relationship. It might be pointing to the issue is not in a love relationship. It's either pointing, and it's probably going to depend on who comes to this reading. This is either pointing to the fact that the Emperor's New Clothes risk is not in a love relationship. It's more in maybe some competitive relationship that has to do with skills and so forth. So it may be that it's actually tilting over to this and saying that it is a work relationship, and there's somebody who's competing with you who really doesn't have the same skills as you. So you've got to find a way to deal with that, because it's undermining you a bit. But you've seen something like this before. So if that is going on in your career, you've seen it before, and knowing this now prepares you to be ready so they don't get the head start. This is what the future self wants you to know. This is coming up. Make sure that you are ready to come forward and compete. Don't wait on that. If it is a love relationship, it could be somebody coming back and they might be saying, oh, everything's fine now, everything's brilliant. But just to accept them back and accept that on face value is going to de-strengthen you. So you've actually done a lot of work on your relationships. You've developed a lot of skill and a lot of discernment. You have to have the courage to do that. So if someone comes back, or if someone who comes with a romantic offer but they seem very much like the past, trust your instincts, because it's probably right. They probably are very much like the past. Whatever this is, though, you have to be able to compete. This energy is actually about competition in one form or another, I think, rather than anything else. It's either a love relationship where it's not as good as it seems, and you've got to be prepared to go out and look for something else, or it's a work relationship or a friendship or something like that. You've gone through this before. It's a pattern, but you are ready to stand up and say no. To be the little boy who goes, not wearing any clothes. It's not what it appears. You're going to need to stand up for yourself, I think, around something. So then if we look into how you use your resources best around career, because it does look like there's some challenges coming up. So what does your future self want to say about that? Knight of Wands reversed, Three of Swords reversed, the Magician, Ace of Cups reversed, Judgment. Okay, all right. One very specific thing, and this applies if something is happening pretty much right now. If you are thinking, I just want to leave where I am right now, I've had enough, or I'm not going anywhere, wait. Don't rush to leave anywhere. And if you get an offer, then give yourself time to consider it properly and work out, is it taking you, particularly around skills, where you want to go? Again, it's a discernment. Is it an offer that's too good to be true? Is it an offer that's going to put you into some other difficulty where you're doing a lot, but you're not getting the recognition for it, for instance? So you're using your resources, but it's not taking you forward, So there's an issue around don't rush to leave somewhere. That's first the thing. If you're not happy, wait, because it looks to me like a better offer that hasn't come yet is coming. So this is you aren't the little match girl in the sense of you're going to kind of like everything's going to burn out and you're going to be lost. But there is sort of something where you are at the moment or what you're doing at the moment, it's like slow down, don't move, a better opportunity is coming. Try and reserve your energy, I think is what this is saying, and wait for the communication because you have the skills that you need and there is a better offer or there's something really good coming in your career. But it's like, I would say, if it's right now, then it may be 6 months, 12 months from now. If it's not right now, you may hit a point where you're going like, I just feel like I'm burning out, literally burning out where I am. But it says just slow down as much as you can and wait, because when that energy comes, something good is coming. But at the moment that you feel, that's it. I'm just going to like leave. I'm just going to do that. Don't do that. Wait. Get the communication out. It's going to bring something better for you. Okay. And then let's have a look at the spirituality, which is very powerful, I think, and I think is a really good guide for you in discerning this. What does your future self want to say about that? The 6 of Pentacles, the 8 of Cups, the 2 of Pentacles reversed, the Emperor, the Patron reversed. Okay, all right. I think it's pointing that I think primarily the Holy Grail is pointing to stuff around your career, vocation, whatever you make money, like whatever that kind of material side of your life is. It's talking about that. It could connect back to discerning about relationships, but I think that it's mainly about that. And the reason I say that partly is because we have the Emperor here. And the Emperor, this seems to be saying that the Holy Grail of a good boss, a good emperor, a good investor, someone like that, an angel investor if you want to do investments, a good boss is coming. That's the point where you can move on and do what you want. You don't have much choice at the moment. Like at the moment you may think you have choice, but you don't. You have to hold to where you are. The Grail, it's like the Grail is making you stop and wait until almost the timeline shifts so that you can actually find it. And it is about that. With the Patron reverse, this suggests to me that you are at the moment best suited to be working for someone or in an organization or something like that. You may find eventually you will have the option to just move a work relationship into a patronage one, but it's more like, it's less like an angel investor right now. It's more like in a workplace, you will get the support you need. Eventually you'll be able to go and maybe do something yourself, but the time is not right for that. The next 3 to 5 years is like building the connections that you need. Then you can think about that like a portal that you can go through. If your Holy Grail is to be independent, to run your own business, that kind of thing, it's you're probably better off building some skills and money and support in your industry in a more traditional employment arrangement right now, I would say, and that is helping you. Like I think your Holy Grail, knowing what you really want, it's like an investment. Then you'll know when to move on. If you are though already doing your own business, then there may be a patron that doesn't come through for you, but another one will once that energy is shifted. So if part of this energy is that you're waiting on the support you need, a new contract or something like that, I feel like it's saying that something you're waiting on right now is not what is meant for you, and that will not happen. But once that has happened, then the energy will come through. It's a bit like with the career thing. It's like when you're feeling like you just want to walk away from what you're doing, just hold still. The Grail will call you and you will then get what you need. So there's a kind of take your time and be discerning, even though the Chariot is trying to push you forward in many ways and you are meant to move forward. And your future self wants you to know you are going to move forward in this period of time. But there's just this hurdle or something that has to do with the right connections, the right timing, and the alignment to your spiritual purpose. And that's where the discernment has to come in, because you might feel, particularly with the energy of momentum of the Chariot, you just want to move, you just want to decide, you just want to do something. But it's saying that there are things that are outside of your control and decision right now, and it's better to wait because you will have better decisions, better options if you do that. So that's, I think, a very strong message from your future self. So let's have a look at it over kind of where you are now over the next 3 to 4 years, and then at 5 years beyond. And we're going to look at it in terms of astrology energy. We're going to look at it in terms of chakra energy. What is the key chakra thing to keep in balance or to think about? And then we're going to have a look at what your spiritual gifts might be that would help you. So firstly, if we're looking at right now, astrologically, we have Mercury and Mercury. Okay, there's a lot of channeled information. This is like a lot is coming from your spirituality. You are very, very tuned in. Communication is absolutely essential. And you could be working around or dealing with communication. There might be a communication overload though, and that's another reason why to sort of slow down and really think things through. Thinking things through is kind of the key thing here. Your mind and your communication are going to be your main protectors as you go through what feels like a bit of a challenging time to work out when to move and what to do. So then over the next, say, 3 to 4 years. So once we sort of like, or even, once you get to about, maybe 2 to 4 years or whatever, like if this is the next year, then say 2 to 4 years, the energy at that point is, okay, this is this weird card that says Moon Mercury, but it says Moon Mars. So it's both those energies. Emotional choices are not the right thing to do. I think the reason we got that is very specific. This is what you have to go back to think things through. Don't just act on emotional impulse. Use your emotions to connect to thinking it through. Then you will go in the right direction. This is the choice. This is, do I jump now or not? That's really what this is talking about. So you are going to be a little bit emotionally volatile over this period of time. But once you get out to 5 years, and bear in mind that the timing might be over a 3-year period for some of you as opposed to a 5-year period. But when you get to the kind of end of that cycle, when you get to kind of where your future self sees you being at, we have Sun and Saturn. Yeah, then you've achieved what you want to do. Then you've got your own, you almost don't need a patron because you're your own patron. Maybe that's what that's saying. You will get to the point where that isn't, if you wait and you make the right decisions, and you will be on your life path and you will be solidifying it. But it will be another period of slowing down. Like I feel like there's like slow down and think about everything. Then it's a bit of a roller coaster, and then it's okay, I'm on path, but I need to slow down again to reconsider. I think we're looking at a cycle. Your future self says you always need to slow down. You are probably not the world's most patient person, and I certainly am not, so there's no criticism there. But you do have to temper your own wish to just keep charging forward. So that's the kind of discernment that your future self is talking about. What in each of these periods might be a chakra energy to be aware of, either that's in balance, that's working really well, or one that's not in balance that you have to think about. So right now we have the throat chakra. I talk more than I listen. Okay, that's interesting with Mercury. If you really want to know and understand, and if you want to slow down before you jump into something, then practicing like stopping talking and listening to other people and like putting that in as a pause to make sure that you're getting the information you need is important. So it's, again, this is sort of an impatient, want to keep moving, very mercurial energy operating for you, and there's a lot to be said for that, but it can obscure the truth. So it's very important to be aware of that. As you move through the kind of roller coaster time, we have the throat chakra again. Okay, and this is, if you've listened to this, I think I talk and I am a good listener. So it's like do connect, do act, but also make sure that you double check and you listen in your talking. So I think that your future self's pretty confident you're going to get this message, and that you're more than capable of doing it. It's just you've got to slow down a bit. And then when we get to the other side, so to speak, we have the crown chakra. I sense a lack of trust in the universe. So I think that this is, it's not that it's an awful time you're about to go through, but it's a tricky time. And I think that you may, in fact, that's why you have to remember the Holy Grail, because I think it is actually going to be the part of you, the higher self part of you, the future self of you that's talking to you, that's helping you. The universe is helping you. But you may feel, I have to control everything now because, gee, that was really tricky. But I think it's what your future self is saying. Don't think of it that way. Think of it that you are going to keep getting information. You're a very quick, mercurial sort of person. So learning how to use that best is the universe helping you, even if it felt like it wasn't the case. So that you always reconnect back to that Holy Grail, because you're very strongly spiritual, but I feel like this is like, you feel like you've had to navigate a lot and it's been very cerebral and emotional, and then you're going, oh, is the universe supporting me? But actually it is, because it's giving you that drumbeat of what is your purpose. Okay, let's see and given spiritual gifts, what spiritual gifts or approaches are appropriate at each point. So right now, guide. Okay, yeah, I talk more than I listen. The very least, connect into your spirit guides, because with that energy, they will help you, your future self or whatever. Like you do have spiritual support. As you're going through the roller coaster, because it is going to be a roller coaster, taboo, okay. Think about what is, taboo is interesting, because it could be the thing that's seductive but isn't right, but it could also be sometimes that something is right for you, but you have to work through why there are people pushing against it. So there's a whole energy about knowing whether or not something is not for you, or you're being manipulated on that kind of level, and exploring that and being prepared to explore that. And then when we get to the other side, about 5 years out, guardian, like, okay, going back, okay, there's a pattern here for you. You're actually very strongly spiritually protected. That's what that Holy Grail was saying. Start with a guide to help you go through the roller coaster. This is guardian. The reason it's guardian is the Saturnian thing. It's like you're going to need to sort of like keep going through this as a flow. Like you go through something, you solidify something, and then it's like the next step. How do you go through that? It's going to repeat in a way, but you've almost graduated, because you've gone from having a guide, which is helping you navigate towards the Holy Grail, and then you have a guardian because you've actually achieved something significant in terms of the Holy Grail. So it's protecting as well as moving forward and growing. It's protecting what you've achieved. So it is saying, your future self is saying you're going to achieve a lot in this period of time, but it's not going to be easy necessarily. Okay, so let's just see with personal predictions in the same sort of time period, just 3 cards for each, for anything else over those periods of time that your future self wants to tell you about. So sort of right now and over the next year or so, we have boredom, inactivity. Okay, you'll find it a bit hard to slow down. That's part of this thing, and you may feel sometimes a bit blocked, but you've got to kind of deal with that, because if you rush forward, there's some real risks associated with it, and good things are coming. You've got to be patient for it. Secondly, reconnect, relive past. Okay, this is a good time to think back. If you're feeling stuck and bored, think back about where you've seen these patterns before, because you will have, and you'll understand how to manage them a bit better. And rest and relax. Yeah, okay, so if nothing else, like try and take some time out until you've got a clearer idea about where you want to go. Because, yeah, it's kind of like it's too much activity, it's too much, it's too fast. It's slow down a bit. And you may even be forced to slow down. You could, I'm not saying that this will happen to any of you specifically or many of you, but, there's a possibility, with the little match girl, you could lose a job or something. You have to actually take time out. You'll be okay financially, and something good will come after that. But yeah, don't let boredom or just feeling like I'm stuck in the past or I just want a break make you move too quickly, because it's like, take a holiday if you can, or find some other way to do a break. What do they call quiet quit? Do something like that. Don't actually put yourself in that position, because it's going to be tricky. You're going to take the wrong thing if you feel, financially pushed. So then in the roller coaster period, where all sorts of things could happen, expect miracles. Yeah, it's going to connect to the Holy Grail. So good things are going to come out of this. Making progress. Yeah, you will make progress. It's got to temper the timing of it, because there's a lot of emotion associated with it. And beautify, glow up, start to enjoy that, and start to use your progress to promote yourself in relationships, in work, in whatever it might be. And then when you sort of get to this more, I've achieved something now, what's next sort of period, about 5 years out or roughly there, protect your energy. Yeah, you're going to have to protect what you've done and your energy, and guard what you've done, guard your life path, guard the Holy Grail. Take a leap, take action. And then once you've protected it, this is more about protecting what you've achieved. This is allowing yourself to wait for the right time to achieve. This is protecting what you achieve, and then being able to say, okay, I can have a bit of fun. I can leap onto the chariot and see what else happens. And then we have discontent and loss. Okay, so this is you need to protect this, because if you take a leap, you could lose or move backwards. It may also be that for you that it is actually the trigger of either discontent or potential loss or actual loss that takes you to the next level. But again, you can remember that's your pattern, and if you follow the advice, you should be fine. Okay, so lastly, we're going to get you a protective energy, magical energy. It depends very much on with what you choose in the numbers 1 to 5. This is why I'm finishing a lot of figure cards at the moment, because I think it works quite well. So if you just choose a number between 1 and 5, if you have to pause to do that, that's fine, because I'm about to start to deal it out. And depending upon the number, that's the kind of last message from your future self, maybe synthesizing message and protective message around all of this for you. So if you chose number 1, intuition. If you chose number 2, Archangel Hamaliel. If you chose number 3, love. If you chose number 4, overcoming grief. And if you chose number 5, stillness. Okay, so those who chose number 1, your intuition is going to be a very good guide for you. You will get increased perception and clear knowledge. That's Mercury working well. But I do feel you need to it's not just what you get internally in your internal knowing, also talk with others, stress test it with others, and be very careful of the communication that comes to you as well to discern that. Use your intuition to decide whether it's Emperor's New Clothes or not in particular, or whether it's too much of a use of resources as a choice, but also use your mind to stress test your own intuition as well. If you chose number 2, the Archangel of Virgo suggests a lot of this will be around integration, and particularly material integration in one way or the other. It's strength to resist the adversary. So if there is people fighting with you or making things difficult, or it's propaganda or whatever, the Archangel energy is going to be there to protect you. That may well be the guide for you at this point. So you may want to look into that Archangel. If you chose number 3, then really pay a lot of attention to the relationship energy here. And the best way to discern that is, where is there true affection and caring and compassion, and where isn't there? Something might seem glamorous or interesting, but if it doesn't have that, it's not going to be taking you to the Holy Grail. If you chose number 4, overcoming grief, you may already be in that little match girl feeling, or feeling like there is loss. So this is just know that you're going to move forward. You're going to have the sadness in your heart, but you're going to clear it out and have better opportunities. You just need to temper your speed in doing that so that you allow the new opportunities to come in. And if you chose number 5, stillness, inner calm and quiet reflection, it's the overarching thing here. Try and practice stillness, meditation, going within, because you are a very fast-thinking, fast-moving person. But there are, what do they call it, traps for young players here. And I'm not saying you're young or naive, but there are things coming up that would be easy to not see if you don't take the time to really look at it. So go within. Hope that resonates for you, Pile 1. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Emperor. And so I think your future self wants to talk to you about either very material things, material powers, responsibilities, growth on that sort of level materially, and in terms of status, that kind of thing, taking on leadership in some way. There could be some sort of message around that that's important over the next, say, 3 to 5 years. Or it could be something to do with the divine masculine energy within you, and when you choose to act and how you choose to act. So there's something in relation to that. I also feel very strongly new initiatives, new things. As you can see there with the ram, the Emperor is connected with the sign of Aries, so new beginnings. I feel like actually when I'm filming this, Saturn and Neptune are conjunct in Aries, so right at the beginning of Aries, so in the very first degrees of the zodiac, full stop, because Aries is the first sign. So I feel like for some of you, this could be a message about stepping into your power, into your status or whatever, in a new environment, a new workplace, a new relationship, a new social or political cause, something like that. But there's some energy around that, and it has to do with your sovereignty and the responsibility that comes with that. Now, what we have here is 3 cards from the Timeless Tales deck that tell particular stories, fairy stories or similar. This is to represent the energy over the next 3 to 5 years, a narrative energy around love and romance and other relationships, so all types of relationships. This is around career and vocation, and this is around your spiritual energy. So this is the Raven, so Edgar Allan Poe's very, very famous poem about someone who is mourning lost love. So there is a possibility that there is someone that you miss. Now, it could be a lover, it could, as it is in the Raven, but it could also be, somebody, you could be dealing with grief at the moment. What I will tell you is that my guide never predicts deaths around you. So if it was a grief, a loss of someone, a loved one, it would have already happened. It's not going to happen over the next 3 to 5 years. It would have already have happened. So for some of you, that may be the case. And there may be that kind of connection. Is there a spiritual connection that continues beyond that? Because the Raven is a bit like a psychopomp, and therefore the Raven coming with the message was fairly dark for Edgar Allan Poe's character. It was nevermore, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the full message here. But I think there is something about understanding the implications of past relationships, lost relationships, and there is a possibility in this period of time, I have to say, that there is a relationship that, not through death, because as I say, this is not anything that my spirit guide will ever put in a reading, but maybe a relationship that breaks up and that you would like it back, but it won't if that's the case. So there is something about the grief of loss and coming to terms with the grief of loss in some form of relationship. But as I say, if it is grief in that more classic sense, you will already know about it. Otherwise, it's more likely to be a relationship that doesn't last, that separates. And it could be a friendship. It doesn't have to be, your great love of your life, but there is some emotional issue there that your future self wants you to know about. In terms of your career, though, there is and this fits with the Emperor, there's a lot of magic around, there's a lot of possibilities. This is a Nutcracker suite, so there is a sense of almost childlike wonder, because the story is of a little boy, if I remember correctly, who sees all his toys come to life overnight. So there is a sort of a sense of you can create magic, almost from a sense of innocence and wonder. So there's almost like, I think, a message here over this period of time of creating for yourself not only the magic around your career to do what you want, but it's almost like growing up. There's a maturation process. There's the wonder that starts it in this period. And in this period of time, you're going to really kind of grow into whatever this is and take on the more mature approach. But the magic is there, and you'll be able to carry with you the understanding that the magic is there. Because on a spiritual level, we also have magic because we have Aladdin's lamp. Now, but it's interesting because Aladdin's lamp, fortune is there, but there is always a risk. The genie is a jinn, and therefore could be a little bit mercurial, a little bit of a trickster energy. Be careful what you wish for is kind of the message of that story. So there is a sort of a sense of one thing that and we'll see with the tarot whether this comes up, but one thing your future self may be saying is that you are in a magical time, particularly for your career, for who you are going to be in the world. You can create a lot, but you do have to be very mindful of the impact on relationships, because if you suddenly thought, I've got the magic, I'm growing in my career or whatever, and you became a workaholic, it could be at the cost of a relationship. So it's how you make the right wishes at this point that creates the right magic and maybe protects you from the sad elements that are possible around relationships. So I think there's a very strong message of part of being the mature steward, the sovereign, is to understand, the people that are closest to you as well, so that isn't lost in the mix of it all. So we're going to use tarot. We're going to look a little bit more about the love and relationships, a little bit more about the career, a little bit more about the spiritual, and then we're going to, I think that's actually all I will do. I was going to do something about a small thing to connect it all, but in the last reading I didn't end up doing that, and I don't think it's necessary actually. So we're just going to look at each of these in a little bit more detail. So Firstly, around love and relationships, the Magician. There's magic. There's magic around all of this. The Page of Coins, the Five of Cups reversed, the Five of Pentacles. No, okay. Yeah, look, it's definitely saying there is the possibility of a breakup, a loss or something like that, or you may already have had it. You might be at this point, quite apart from, as I said, if there was something like a loss of a loved one, who's passed on, that would have already happened, so you'd already be dealing with that. For others, you might have just broken up with someone. That might be what's going on here, or it could be coming up. That is coming up, but if it hasn't. But having said that, you have the magic in your material world. It's operating so powerfully for that if you just tilt that magic a bit to also say, I want to grow, I will grow and I will be successful, but not at the expense of love, then even if there is a loss right now or you're alone, there is an offer that will come through. You can move this magic over there. In fact, it's almost saying you already have the magic you need for your career. And it's repeating it there. Use the magic of your spiritual connection, your spiritual guide and those who protect you to also bring love in, because there is a bit of a risk of you being alone if you don't do that. So you do need to kind of prioritize relationships as well. That's what your future self wants to say, because the trajectory you're on at the moment, because you're on a roll magically, might kind of have that as an unintended consequence of being alone. So, okay, so let's see around the magic around career, vocation and so forth. What else does your future self want to say? The Patron reversed, the Fool reversed, the King of Wands reversed, Death reversed. Wow, it's a lot reversed. And the Moon. So it's connecting to your spiritual energy. It is a spiritual thing. It's magic. It's confirming that. This is something you do yourself. You are the magician. So even part of this for some of you, when we have like a genie there, we have magic there, we have Emperor there. For some of you, this future self message is you are becoming the magician. You do not need a patron. You do not need others to do this for you. You know what you're doing here. This terrain is very familiar to you. The issue for you to make sure that you keep it in balance and it doesn't affect your relationships is not to become the negative energy of the Emperor and the King of Wands, not to become I'm all powerful, my might is right. There is a bit of a thing here about keeping this sort of thing in balance and keeping your ego in balance. It's going to be important because you're going to realize how much power you have. If you don't do that, your choices will start to limit. So there is a lot of internal exploration that is necessary. And you also need in your career to reflect and support and show how others have supported you. The way this moon is done, you see how the different energies are supporting each other. I think there is definitely a thing like there is a ladder to go up, you're going up the ladder, but you're not doing it alone. And so this is the main thing to be aware of, that even if you are the magic, even if you are the special source, there are others. And if you don't recognize that, then some of the magic will dry up. The magic is there because you could become the responsible, successful one. So there's two risks for you in this period of time. One is that you don't properly reflect the support of others, and therefore some of the magic starts to sort of recede, or you get so focused on this that you don't get the relationships. So that your future self wants you to be aware of that. It's kind of, as they say, a good problem to have because it means you're successful. It's happening because you're successful, but we always have to balance that and temper that. So what about the spirituality? When you've got, Aladdin's lamp, when you've got, wishes, but, careful what you wish for, as I say. What is the energy your future self wants to say there? 9 of Wands reversed. 10 of Swords reversed. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of drama around all of this because it's big ticket magic. King of Coins. 3 of Coins. Yeah, there's actually a really strong message here for you. And 4 of Coins. Yeah. This is like, it's almost a King Midas thing, actually. I mean, see, King of Coins, that can be a King Midas thing. There's going to be tricky people around you, tricky energies around you, and drama around you as this happens, because success brings that. But it's also showing, it's that if you don't see this as a collaborative exercise, then it stops. You get to a certain level and it stops, and it becomes like King Midas. It becomes that everything you touch turns to gold, but then you don't have the relationships, then you don't have the connection. You really pay attention to the story King Midas, because your magic could take you there, but it doesn't have to. If you recognize that, yes, you could be first among equals in being a leader and being the person who should be boss or whatever it is, but you really do value the people you collaborate and work with, you value their contribution, and you value relationship in general, then this does not occur. But if you don't, if it's very materially oriented and it's somewhat ego oriented, then it will reach a level, it will stop, and you will find yourself feeling quite alone or frustrated. So there's a very big message from your future self about you're very magical, you're very powerful, you're very able to manifest, but there are risks associated with that unless you balance it. So let's have a look at some of that. Let's have a look with astrology first. Let's look at some planetary pairings. One for kind of like right now to the next year, one for, say, years 2 to 4, and then one's for 5 years and out, so over the time period that we're talking about. So from now out to the next 12 months, an energy to be aware of is Pluto and Pluto. Oh, yeah, your power is significant. Like, it's big. But it's also, and very transformative. Everything shifts and changes. There is magic here. Like, there really is. But Pluto is transformative, and it takes all before it. So you do have to keep things in balance, because otherwise it is overwhelming in all areas. So this is a very powerful time, but you need to treat that with respect and care. Then over the next 2 to 4 years after that, we have Sun and Saturn. Okay, yeah, this is coming into your mastery. Like, I feel like the next year is very pivotal for you. And like at its best, it comes into its mastery. But it's also where at its best, it is the responsible, mature, sovereign kind of energy. But at its worst, it starts to stop if you haven't connected. This is why this next year or so is very important to set up what's meant to happen past that. And then at the other, at 5 years, we've got Moon and Chiron. Yeah, because look, your future self's giving you a bit of a tough love message here. It's saying you are very magical, you're very competent, you're ready to rise, you're ready to be successful, you're ready to make money, you're ready to do all of those sort of things. And it's a very transformative time. But there's a very big risk for you. And that is that the amount of success is sort of like proportionate to the amount of, so the amount of success is sort of like opposite proportion to the amount of emotional connection you have. So you could be in emotional healing mode and having to heal a lot if you get caught and stuck at this point. But if you shift that and you actually do become the wise steward who is a collaborator and who values all relationships, then in fact by 5 years out you'll find that anything that's going on that's difficult in your love life and otherwise at the moment is healed. So it's up to you, but it could go either way. So let's see what chakra energy might be important, either imbalance or not imbalance, to consider in each of these periods. So for the next year, I have the throat chakra. I talk, but I suppress my feelings. Yeah, there's sort of something here. I think you're very comfortable in the material and the career and all that kind of thing, not so much in the emotional. But remember, you have a lot of power there too. And like suppressing your feelings kind of almost creates the negative energy. So just be aware of that. It's underactive at the moment. You need to be a little bit more open about feelings. Then where you could become the responsible steward or where you could kind of like stop yourself in your own tracks, we have the third eye. I see, but I'm unable to self-reflect. Yeah, this is a big thing for you. And I don't mean it in a critical way. As anybody who has this degree of magical ability, manifestability, it's very hard not to then think, oh, I'm superior and that's all there is to it. But the reality is, even with that, we are still part of a collective consciousness. We are all interacting, and different people bring different things to the table. And if we don't see that, we krill our own pitch, really. So it's really important for you to know that with great power comes great responsibility. Then 5 years and out, we're back to the throat chakra again, and we've got it balanced. I talk and notice body language. So I think that I think that your future self's pretty confident that most of you will get this message and will do what you need to do, so that by that time you've actually incorporated that and therefore taken away a lot of the risk around love and relationships, and you'll be able to move forward collectively with others because you are in communion with others. But it's a test. It's a test for you, pile 2. So let's see what magical energy and magical approaches would be important over this time. So right now, when you start to realize the power that you have, moon magic. Okay, and that's interesting around the feelings. Start to pay attention to the cycles of the moon. Think about communicating with others when the moon cycle energy is good for that. Think about being more contemplative and going within. Like, there's something about understanding the cycles of the moon that will help you manage the emotional side of this power. Then when we're at the pivotal point, are you King Midas or are you the servant leader, really? The magical energy is attraction. Yes, this is a law of attraction. I mean, I don't believe it in the just I'll have a vision board and everything works out. I do think that there's a whole range of things that creates a magical ability, some of which is spiritual, and you do have a spiritual ability in this space. You probably either practice magic in this life or in other lives. But it is also, it's got to do with using your skills properly and understanding the situation that you're in. It's not just thinking about it. So the law of attraction operates with this. If you have understood how you got to where you are, you have some humility, you understand your strengths, but you have some humility for what other people have brought, you keep bringing more of that to you. But if you've decided it's all you, then you're cutting off that. So think about the law of attraction. And then where I think that your future self's pretty confident you're going to have got it and been able to deal with it, banish. Yeah, you're going to sort of like keep away the energies, the trickster energies within yourself and within any spiritual entities around you, so that you can actually move forward with a clearer energy, and you banish the emotional wounds and can have a better emotional connection. So yeah, a lot hangs in the balance for you, but you do have the ability if you just take this on. So let's also see for each period with the personal predictions deck, anything else that's sort of going on in this sort of period. So in the next year, which is pretty full on for you, we have adventure and travel. That's great. There's nothing wrong with doing that. See it as an adventure. Be brave, deal with it. Yeah, there's a lot going on. See it as an adventure. Be brave enough to do this. You do have the power, but you do have to be brave to look at all the consequences as well and look at yourself. And completing a cycle. Yeah, like that's right, because with this Plutonian thing, one cycle is ending, you're bringing in a new cycle. That's why it's important right from the beginning to sow the right seeds, so the harvest is what you want. When we get to the pivotal point about what kind of a leader have you become, change in perspective. Yeah, this is very important. The sooner you get the change in perspective about this, the more you're going to be in control of what this choice is and how the power operates. Friendship and company. Yeah, like really value people. You are necessary for the magic of this, and you are the natural leader, but people matter, like don't forget that. And brain fog or confusion. Yeah, like that, there's a kind of the ego can confuse you. Just like the sort of like the smoke around the genie's lamp. Like the way to get through that is to change your perspective by talking with others. You get trusted advisors, your collaborators, all that kind of thing. And then what happens sort of 5 years out, particularly presuming you're not caught in a cycle of having to heal a lot of emotional stuff, like you've actually kind of worked that bit out, because that's what it looks like it's saying you're going to do. Transform, grow. Yeah, you aren't stuck. You are moving forward. Innovative ideas come in, so that's all good. And an end to the battle. Yeah, because if you felt a battle around this, your magic shifted it, and if you've actually incorporated it, you're no longer battling to have a relationship or feeling regret. It's all coming together. So I do think it's very positive, but I do think you have to be very, very self-honest, and you have to be very, very open to the input of others. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to finish with a sigil that protects or gives some other synthesizing information. Just if you choose a number from 1 to 5, pause if you have to. Whatever number you choose is your synthesizing and protective final message. So if you chose number 1, we have cord cutting. If you chose number 2, the 4 seasons, the cycles of life. If you chose number 3, we have protection. If you chose number 4, we have intuition. And if you chose number 5, we have invisibility. Okay, so if you chose number 1, I think a lot of this has to do with things that are key for this first year, to be honest. If you chose number 1, I think that this is saying you may have to detach from certain things. And if there is a past love that you're regretting, to be able to let in the energy for a new love, you need to cord cut from the past. Otherwise, you need to cord cut from those things that are slowing down your growth. So, release what no longer serves you, as it says. That's important to be able to move forward and go through the transformation. If you chose number 2, this is cyclic, and this is about, just as this was sort of saying, completing a cycle. One cycle is completing, another cycle is coming in. So as I say, think of it as a farmer would. What do you need to do to protect and build for the next season? And then the season after that, and then the season after that, because things always change. So you can reach the top of the tree, but you could fall from there if you haven't worked out what really got you there and how to sustain it. If you chose number 3, you're pretty protected through all of this. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're protected from your own choices, but you're protected from outside influences. And overall, this is not going to cause you spiritual or physical harm. Using your power is not going to do that. It's much more about, if it becomes more of an ego thing, do you actually limit that power, and do you limit yourself in terms of relationships? If you chose number 4, your intuition is very strong and will help you with this, but it is about increasing your perception, connecting more with others, getting knowledge, not just the power. And if you chose number 5, there might be something about your rise to whatever this power is and whatever it is, where you need to keep yourself a little bit hidden until you are ready to use your magic. So I would say for those who chose 5, you may be in some sort of political, social sort of scenario, or some sort of organisation that's got a lot of internal competition, or you're around relationships and family stuff and so forth that's impacting connections that you make, and you just need to be a little bit under the radar to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 2. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Maker, which, as I said, is an additional major arcana card in this tarot. And for me, the Maker evokes a number of things. One is highly creative people, and there is potentially a kind of through line in all of this that has to do with creativity, which I will talk about. But more than that, I feel like this is the act of creation. It is more like, if you consider that this follows the world in the deck, or actually it follows another card and then the world. There's a couple of additional major arcana in this deck. Then what we're talking about is, once we've gone through one life cycle, there's another one. I feel this is a lot like the concept of the architect, the creator of the next cycle, the creator of one's destiny, the interaction with the matrix, the ghost in the machine, all the various things that you might think of in that terminology. And I think your future self is saying that you are more that around your life over the next 5 years or so than you possibly realize. So the stories that you tell yourself and the narratives that you have and the things that you believe, you're likely to bring into being. That can be wonderful, or it can be challenging. And there's some interesting energy around this. In the spiritual area, which is this one, is the key. It's about being authentic, and I'll get to that in a bit more detail. But I think that your future self is saying you do have the capacity. It's almost like you could change timelines, or you could change the narrative in your world, and you kind of know you can do that, particularly around relationships, actually. And then this is career. But there is a dynamic operating at the moment about that you feel like there's a kind of a risk to your autonomy, or to your heart, or to your career. There are kind of risks associated with this. So I think that what your future self wants to talk to you about is understanding how you can take those and you can shift the story, and knowing that, and always going back to what is authentic to you is important. So it's not having to appear like something to other people. It's not like necessarily having to escape a situation. You can shift the situation. You can leave if you want to, but it doesn't have to be seen as an escape. But right now you feel a little bit under threat. But your authentic self and your spiritual energy connecting with this, you can shift it, because you really do have that capacity to paint the new picture, to create the new story. So I think that's the energy that's operating here that your future self wants to talk to you about. And so I think they're almost talking from, if you don't do that, this is what is operating. But if you shift the perspective on these ones in particular, using this as your guiding light, then you can deal with any risks or any associated things, and you can create something very, very different. Because these, as I say, this looks at love and relationships, this looks at career, vocation, this looks at spiritual. The storyteller is actually the 1001 Night, Scheherazade. I think that's how she pronounces her name. It's an interesting story around relationships, because this is a woman who is in the court of a fairly despotic, I don't know whether he's a sultan or a king or what the story is, but he's powerful anyway. And he basically has all these affairs with the women in his harem, and then he kills them the next morning. Like, he's awful. But she manages to tell him a story each night for 1001 nights, and he's always intrigued to hear the next story. And as a result of that, she survives, and he eventually marries her. But it's kind of the story of protecting yourself in a dangerous situation by how you can tell a story. So I do think that there's something that your future self is talking about. Are you drawn to risky situations? Are you drawn to relationships, whether they be love or otherwise, where there's a power imbalance? Do you feel that you have to be endlessly entertaining to be connected with? Because the reality is, you have within yourself the capacity to tell the story that liberates you from that. But you should be doing it so you can choose. The story in this is that she gets chosen. So I do think that your future self wants to say, it's not about being chosen. It's not about being the one that everybody wants to be around or everybody wants to be with just because you're very entertaining and very fascinating and very seductive. It's like, who would you choose? Because I feel like the spirit, your future self is saying that you have the capacity to shift it, make it your choice. Who's entertaining you? Who's making you feel excited to see them every day? That's what you should be focusing on in any type of relationship. Similarly, the energy around the career, the narrative over this period of time is Rapunzel. So I do feel that there's something about your career, vocation, or whatever you're doing that it feels like a trap, whether you're feeling it right now or whether that's going to start to happen over this period of time. And again, Rapunzel waits for the prince to come along and climb up her hair and then take her and free her. But I think your future self says you can do that. And you can make the choice. It doesn't have to be just like, I'm going to run away instantly if it's not good. It can be, can I change this? Can I shift it? I'm very good with people. I'm very good at being able to shift the narrative. Can I do that? Or do I just eventually get to the point where the narrative is I go out the front door and I go on and when it's the right time for me? So I do think your future self wants you to take more control. And this is where it's interesting as to what's the dynamic operating here. Because this is both explaining why this dynamic exists and why your future self wants to talk to you, and it also is explaining how to fix it. Because this story is a kind of bittersweet one where there is a Japanese feudal lord who has a beautiful talking bird. He loves the beautiful talking bird, so he creates a mechanical one in its honor, but then he gets more fascinated with the mechanical one, and therefore the original bird flies away because he no longer feels loved or seen. When the feudal lord is on his deathbed, the real bird returns and he finally sees the worth of that. So this is about, I guess, the heart is about what is true and being seen and recognized for what is true. So if you feel around relationships that you've got to be chosen because then you're seen, as opposed to deciding, well, no, I'm going to choose. And like part of it will be, do they see me for whatever type of relationship it is? Or if you feel that you're stuck in a rut because the mechanical birds around you are getting all the stuff, then either you go away and then if they need you back, then they can pay you a hell of a lot more to come back, or you just make that kind of autonomy for yourself. But I feel that your future self is saying to you right now, you're kind of looking for the validation of others because maybe for completely unfair reasons it hasn't come. But you within yourself, your authentic self is the beautiful bird. And some will come to the point of recognizing that, hopefully before they're on their deathbed, and others won't. But you need to recognize it and go with what is authentic in you. And if you do that, you will be able to shift all of this because you are the real magical thing. You are the real talking bird. You are able to do that. You're just underestimating yourself big time. So let's see a little bit more on each of the topics, on love and relationships, on career and vocation, and on spiritual energy over the next 3 to 5 years for you. So love and relationships. And as I say, this doesn't have to be all romantic. It could be any type of relationship, family relationships, friendships, even work relationships sometimes. So we get the Six of Pentacles reversed, the Strength card, the Three of Swords, the Seven of Wands, and the Moon. Okay. Very strong message here, particularly. Let's start first around love, but it applies to friendships, it applies to your family relationships, it applies to work relationships. You should be telling the story of how you were with equals, people who recognized you as an equal, people who valued you as an equal, and who you valued in that way. It's the best card, I think, in the deck when it's reversed for relationships. So this is your future self saying you could have one of the best type of relationships ever, where it's equals. There is not a power imbalance where you're having to tell your stories to survive the night, and you're not like being not seen because something mechanical and shiny comes along, and you are being recognized in your workplace because you're seen as a peer. I think that is a real energy, and it's like you have the strength to bring that in. But you have to risk separating whenever it isn't the case. Like you have to risk emotionally the pain of separation when that isn't. You aren't given that respect to find that, because until you do that, you're constantly caught in whether someone else separates from you. So it's really important for you to decide, okay, sometimes maybe my heart's going to be broken or I'm going to be disappointed, but I'm going to be true to this. I'm going to be strong, and I'm going to want the relationships that reflect that. It is a thing of courage. There's an emotional energy here for you to look in. Why? What created this? Did it come from family? What was it? It's really important to go within and understand that, because you do have the ability to switch that. But it's almost like you have to understand your own origin story, particularly around relationships. But even beyond that, around where you feel you weren't seen. If you can work that out and rise above that in your narrative, then you will risk that, because you will know that you're going to draw the right thing in, because you are able to create that. So let's have a look at work, because work looks like it's either right now or going to become difficult, stuck, a bit like a prison. And you've got to, again, get to that point where you know you can decide whether you come or go, and it's at the right time for you, and you're not relying on someone else to save you again or to recognize you. It's you standing in your own strength. We have the Ace of Coins, the Six of Cups, the Tower reversed. So that's interesting, falling under the Tower with Rapunzel. Three of Coins reversed. Seven of Cups. Okay. I think for most of you, this is likely to come in a new job that comes along. I think it's probably not the job you're in. You may have a little bit of that at the moment, but if you take on the strength and you move out, you're going to really hit this point where you've got to go back to that origin story and understand how to make this a blessing and not sort of something that gets stuck. And it is saying you can do it bit by bit. It's actually saying that whether this is a new job that's coming up if you're looking for work, or if it is, if you are actually in a job right now and you're thinking, do I stay or do I go? Can I make this grow again? This is saying you can. You don't actually have to leave where you are, either, as I say, right now, if you're not thinking of a new job, or if you get in a new job and then you feel like, oh God, I'm back in that again, what do I do? Remember my origin story. You're more likely to be able to shift the energy so that isn't an issue anymore, then you have to leave. So it's certainly look at that first. It is saying the issue for you is it's not your decisions, whether it's around love or whether it's around work, should not be done by committee. You've got to do it yourself. If you're looking for everybody else's views, I mean, some people need to get other people's views because they're too in their own heads. But for you, it's kind of the opposite. You need to be writing your own story, and it's not a collaborative effect, but it is one that you can do incrementally. But you've got to start to dream. So it's sort of like, because the dream is the artist, is the maker, is the storyteller. So I think it's saying, like, either right now you're in a job which it isn't yet fulfilling its potential, but you don't have to leave it necessarily. You can restructure it, but you have to get back to what was the original dream you wanted. Or, it's a new job in this period of time that hits this point, but it allows you to test that out. Okay, and then when we're looking at the authenticity, like really valuing who you are and knowing that for those that it matters will value you. So that it's looking at the authenticity is the key spiritual watchword for you at the moment. We get the 5 of Swords reverse. Yeah, don't give up on that. That's the one thing not to give up on. 5 of Wands reverse. It won't be as contentious as you worry about. Knight of Coins. Yeah, be dedicated to it. It will help you in your career as well. The 4 of Coins. It will help you create a foundation. And the Magician, come into your power, come into your communication, come into your storytelling, come into your architect, high magic type of energy. So it is saying that, like, the one thing not to give up on is who you truly are. It's very easy to do that when you're trying to get people to approve of you. You've got to flip the switch. You won't cause the conflagration you're worried about. You'll be able to be dedicated to something and build something out of that, and then you'll understand your own strength. So yeah, I think your future self is saying, like, don't worry about what other people think so much at the moment. Just worry about what you think. So let's have a look at it on a number of levels over the time period. So we're going to look astrologically first for, say, now to the first year, then years 2 to 4, and then 5 and beyond. So astrologically, right now, Saturn and Chiron, yeah, there's some big karmic stuff and some big who's the authority and what limitations have you been put on you. There's a lot that has to be healed. This has come from like childhood or something, I think, or early education. So there's a big thing, but there is a big possibility of shifting that and healing it, but you have to face it. It's not an easy thing to face, but once you face it, you'll actually be like, God, I wish I'd looked at this before, because then you will be in your authentic self and you'll be feeling very liberated. What about the next 2 to 4 years? We've got the Moon and Chiron. Yeah, there's a lot of healing going on. You need a lot of healing. First, it's around the structures and who rules your life and you taking back control. Then it's about you working out, what does this mean for me emotionally and what do I want emotionally? And then 5 years out. Wow, it's Chiron all the way through. Then you've achieved it. Then you've healed, and you can probably heal others. So this is a profoundly healing journey to understand your creative potential, to rewrite your programming and your kind of origin story, and to come into your authenticity. This is a big period of healing for you, but it goes from restriction through to emotional clarity through to expansion. So it's a very good trajectory, but you just have to believe in it, because healing is not always easy. Let's see what chakra energy is important at each stage for you and what may be balanced or under or overactive. So over the next year or so, we have heart chakra. That kind of makes sense. I love, but I can be unforgiving, underactive. Yeah, and you could be unforgiving. Like, I wouldn't actually blame you if you're around relationships where you're kind of, your psychological or emotional survival depends upon, making somebody else approve of you. Then, of course, you could be feeling resentment for that. So I think it's like, instead of doing that, think about, you don't even have to worry about forgiving or not forgiving somebody. It's about just heading towards and rewriting the script to go towards those that do appreciate you. So that's it's kind of like stopping them having a hold on you and therefore causing a kind of fear and resentment. Then the emotional healing period over the 2 to 4 years, we have the throat chakra. I talk and express myself freely. So yeah, once you sort of feel liberated to tell your story, it's because you're a very powerful storyteller. A lot of emotional healing comes with that. And then when you sort of hit the jackpot, really, and done a lot of the healing. We have the solar plexus, and we have that balanced. I do have a sense of humor. Then you can kind of laugh about it and enjoy it and not be so worried about it. So this is a lovely message, actually. It's not easy, but I don't think it's that hard either. I think once you actually flip the switch on that and decide it's not what others think of you, it's what you think of them, really, that's it. Like once you flip that, a lot starts to free up for you. So let's see that kind of magical approach to use at each stage. So around the most difficult, which is probably the next year, we have banish. Yeah, like banish those that, if you can't forgive someone, cut them out of your life as much as you can, or at least cut them out of your consideration. Banish any of that energy that made you feel you were lesser than. Then when you're doing the feeling like you can express yourself and tell your story more and you're healing emotionally, rest, allow yourself to just enjoy that. You don't have to hurry anything. You can take your time. And when you get to 5 years and out, Sacred Heart. That's lovely. You're really connected. This is where you're going to help others. Your healing journey will ultimately help others because it's a very loving energy. You have a very loving energy, but you've been around very controlling energy. So it's like shifting the focus, as I say. All right, so let's also see personal predictions for each of these periods as well, for anything else your future self wants to talk about. So for the next year or so, vehicle transport, like get things moving. Like this is about get things moving in this space. Don't let it get stuck. Think about what is the best vehicle to transport your ideas, to transport your dreams. Like it doesn't have to be literally a car. It's like what takes you from where you are now to where you want to be. Comfort zone, yeah, because it's maybe for you to actually find your comfort zone, but it's also really test that. Is this your comfort zone or do you need to move on? What will help you test that out? Renewed passion, yeah, and you'll know that you're meant to move forward once you feel passion to move forward. Then when you're kind of being able to tell your truth a bit more and tell your story a bit more and feeling like you're emotionally healing, we have vitality boost, yeah. Yeah, look, there's a kind of, you're coming out of that, out of a rut where it was comfortable but it wasn't moving anywhere, to move towards something. Because look at the person in the comfort zone. They don't really look that happy. So I think that's like moving out of that. Vitality boost. We also have for the second period, enter the battle. Yeah, you stop engaging in the battle. You just go, I'm not going to play that game anymore. And patience delays. Sometimes things won't happen as quickly as you want. This is a long period of time we're talking about. But just kind of like, let it flow. Don't worry too much. You're on the right track. But every once in a while, things will get a bit stuck or whatever, because that's what life is. And then when you're at the point where I think you become that healing energy for others, we have treat yourself. Yeah, allow yourself to, congratulate yourself. What you've done is profound. Time to reflect and reflect on that and think about how you can help others. Reflect on how far you've come by that point, because you won't know yourself by 5 years out, pile 3. And unexpected expense. Okay, you treat yourself, but, watch the pennies a little bit. You can be a bit excessive with Jupiter. So I think but nevertheless, it could be an expense that still is worthwhile, but work out, is it part of your storyline? Is it something that's worth expending money on? Okay, so to close out, we're going to get you a protective sigil and energy to synthesize this. So choose a number between 1 and 5. Pause if you have to do that, because I'm just about to deal out the 5 cards, and depending upon which number you choose, that's the sort of synthesizing and protective message to bring it together from your future self. So if you chose number 1, Archangel Hamiel, Archangel of Virgo. If you chose number 2, Abundance. If you chose number 3, Banishing Fear. If you chose number 4, Love. And if you chose number 5, Waiting. Okay. All right. So Some of them might be particularly pointing to particular periods of time, because I feel like that one is the patience and delays one. But anyway, we'll get to that. If you chose number one, this is about integration of your strength and your story into the material world. So Archangel Hamael will help you with that. And you may want to connect with that energy, but it helps you resist the adversary. It helps you resist those that want to judge you rather than letting you make your own decisions. If you chose number two, this is going to bring in some good money for you and good abundance and that kind of thing. So there's a divine connection. When you connect to your authentic self, you are actually going to bring in some real abundance, both emotionally and financially. If you chose number three, it's a big protection to help you banish the fear that taking this stand might give you, eliminating fear while summoning courage. So if this sounds like, wow, how do I do that? How do I become that confident? This energy will actually help you do that. If you chose number four, a lot of this is about who and what you love. And it will bring in really good energy and more true love, that, as I said, Six of Pentacles reverse type of energy, as opposed to one where you're always looking for validation or wondering if you're chosen. And if you chose number five, there may be, you have a sense of this, but it might be in the latter part of this 3 to 5 years that you really get the breakthroughs. But like, just keep at it if that's the case, because you are heading in the right direction. Don't get put off if it takes a little bit longer, or if this stage takes more than a year, like it bleeds into years 2 or 3. Just keep going with it, because you're still going to end up where you need to end up. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 3. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.